Hello and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by GetGo Cafe+Market, where you can always get the fresh food, the fresh drinks, everything's fresh coming out of the GetGo Cafe+Market. Go get you something right now. Tom, we got a lot to talk about, man. I'm Chris Carter, he's Tom Reed, and everything has happened on Monday. We're going to do our best to get you through it here in this show. First, got to talk about, of course, Steelers-Ravens, now been postponed for a third time, to of all times, Tom, 3:40 p.m. on a Wednesday, almost a full week after it was originally scheduled for Thanksgiving night. And the reason, for those who are wondering, the reason I always put it 3:40 p.m. was because NBC didn't want to move its evening programming of filming and broadcasting the lighting of the Rockefeller tree. Tom, everything's bizarre right now, man.
Yeah, it's just 2020 is going out just kind of the way it kind of came in during the spring, isn't it? Just
Yep.
one great thing after another. It's for us soccer fans, we're used to Wednesday football. 3 in the afternoon, it's Champions League, baby.
You mean
All
football?
we're missing is Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo playing. I mean, this is prime time for us. So, but for the NFL, it's Messi meets the Mid American Conference, right? Wednesday action. It's bizarre, and it looks as though it's going to, the Ravens, by this game being moved by the NFL, the Ravens are going to get back a couple of key pieces in the running game. They won't have Lamar Jackson, but they'll be getting Mark Ingram back. They'll be getting DK Dobbins back, and that certainly helps their chances, even though they're still missing a whole lot of players.
They're still going to be missing about 12 players in total, like you said, Lamar Jackson being one of them. But this just seems pretty crazy. So to take you through Monday, to understand how this started, first it was reported that the Ravens were looking at potential travel struggles because there were 2 to 3 inches of snow expected to come to Pittsburgh on Tuesday, which seemed bizarre because, I don't know, I have 2 to 3 inches of snow in Pittsburgh means nothing. Anyways, moving along. Then it's come out that there's no more positive tests of active players. The only player that tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday was a player on injured reserve who had no contact with the players that are going to play in this game. So that checked the box that the NFL set for saying if there were no positive tests on Monday, the game would be played on Tuesday. But then the game's not played on Tuesday anyway. And Tom, the excuse or the reason they gave for it being moved to Wednesday seems kind of fishy to me.
Well, what they're saying for now is that they're saying that it gives the NFL an extra day, or the Ravens / NFL an extra day for testing to see if any more players are positive, and then it also gives the Ravens a chance to actually practice and then to avoid muscle strains. And we'll get to the muscle strains in our third segment here when we talk about how this is going to impact the Steelers long term because of playing 3 games in 12 days coming up. We'll get to that. But what's not being said here, Chris, is that what happens if there's more positive tests tomorrow? What happens if other guys, and we know this with the virus, you may have it and it may not show up for a day or two. What happens if these guys come back tomorrow and all of a sudden it's a positive test? Now you can say that may have been caught on Wednesday morning, it would have been Tuesday morning of game day, but you wouldn't have known it until after the game was played, right? We've seen that happen a couple of times with the Steelers and with the Ravens. But yeah, this is I had forgotten, Chris. It was a great point right at the beginning by you. This is 7 days. This will literally be 7 days from the time the game was supposed to be played. And it's, it is, you hate to be cynical about it, but the Ravens are certainly have been able to get some kind of advantage with getting a couple of their players back. And again, with still not for sure, we're taping this on Monday night, for sure that the game's still going to be played on Wednesday. Again, something could happen between now and Wednesday where this game gets moved, and ultimately they would love nothing more. The Ravens would like nothing more than to get this game moved to Week 18, where they will, of course, create a Week 18.
Okay, so I wanted to stop and cut into it because this was our next topic. Was a lot of conspiracy theories have been thrown around over the past week that the Ravens, they were buying their time because they wanted to hold out to see what they could get and see if they could get this game moved to week 18. And for a while time I was like, poppycock, that's not real, that's not happening. Let's avoid the conspiracy theories. But as time has progressed, the it just seemed so odd to me. Like I said in the last segment, it seems so odd to me that snow would be a deterrent for traveling. I've seen teams come to towns in the middle of blizzards. We've seen the snow-covered fields in New England, and it's never been an issue before. And then we're given this muscle strain excuse. To me, this has only fed into the idea that the Ravens are manipulating the situation to make sure that they're in the best situation because they know they're 6-5 or they're 6-4. If they lose this game, they're 2 games back of the Browns,
Yeah.
and they will be 6-5.
And other teams in the wild card race. So yeah, I don't know. I can understand it. I can certainly see where people, and I know our Dejan DK has kind of really been pushing this for a couple of days now, and that the Ravens are trying to game the system here to get a delay. And as we mentioned in the last segment, it's helped enough to get their 2 running backs back.
Yep.
And then that's their game. That's their bread and butter, is their running game. With now, obviously, they're missing Lamar Jackson, which is a huge part of it, but they are going to get their 2 main backs back. I just don't know. I don't have enough understanding of this from the medical standpoint of how they're trying to do this. Then you look at the situation, of course, with the debacle in Denver over the weekend, which they were saying was more of a competitive thing because that wasn't just all medical issues where forcing Denver to not have a quarterback. The NFL is always so worried about the reputation and protecting their brand. That looked like a minor league game. I mean, seriously,
it did.
That was a minor league sporting event that if we would laugh at the Arena League or the XFL if they did something like this. And this is in some ways, again, this is the same way with the Steelers game is being moved back. And of course, again, we laugh they're being kicked out of prime time for a Christmas tree lighting, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, how bizarre.
And even beyond it, back to what you were saying, you said that the Broncos, they didn't give them a break because they saw that as a competitive situation, not a health situation. Okay, then what in the world is saying muscle strains is the whole? I'm sorry, Ben Roethlisberger didn't practice for a whole week. Did you tell him that we needed to give him time to recover from muscle strains or prepare for that? No. If you're a team, you should be getting ready every day as best you can in your own space, stretching, working out on your own time. You could do it in your own apartment. Heck, I've been using a medicine ball in my own apartment. Like this seems ridiculous, and it continues to look even further and further. And it does seem the NFL catered to the Ravens in this situation. And I know some people saying, whoa, that's ridiculous. And I was on that boat. I was on the boat that, like, guys, stop the conspiracy theories from the start. But this has gone far and above the NFL bending backwards for the Ravens, where we've seen teams like the Broncos not be able to have a quarterback. We've seen the Niners and what they've gone through this year.
Yeah, the Niners and Packers game was an example of a game that probably shouldn't have been played at that point. And that was a Thursday night game too, I believe. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird year. And the thing is, Chris, is right now the NFL can kind of move these games around still. I don't know if we've even gotten to the part that the Steelers game against Washington has been moved to Monday, late Monday.
That's
afternoon.
next segment.
But think about this. The iceberg's approaching here. The playoffs are a couple weeks away.
Yep.
And if they have another one of these outbreaks, then you're going to have a hard time moving games to Wednesday afternoon without disrupting the entire the schedule of games as far as competitive balance and teams getting enough rest between playoff games. So it's just going to get tougher and tougher. And, unfortunately, there's no sign of this virus abating. The NFL is going to have to deal with this for, another 2 months.
So let's talk about that, though, because on top of the Ravens game being moved, the Steelers versus Washington football game, which was originally scheduled for a 1 p.m. kickoff on this upcoming Sunday, is now moved to 5 p.m. on Monday. which means now the Steelers will have a little bit more time to prepare for that game. But now the Ravens have now chopped that, which was originally supposed to be basically a week and a half to prepare for that game, to down to 4 days to prepare for that game. And that now means that the week after that, where the Steelers play the Bills on the road, arguably their biggest challenge in the home stretch of their games, now that comes on a short week, and that puts the Steelers at playing 3 games across 12 days. What sense does that make, Tom?
Well, we're going to go back to the 2 words that have been in this segment in all 3 of our Java segments today: muscle strains. So again, I'm a huge soccer fan. The Premier League is trying to condense all these games. There's so much soccer being played right now with this team, and there is an absolute rash of muscle strain injuries in the Premier League and in different leagues in Europe right now, because guys are playing so many games and so quickly. The games are coming thick and fast. Guys, hamstrings, calves, everything. And just the thought of the Steelers playing 3 games in 12 days. And oh yes, there's a lot of tackling and serious hitting in football. That's a lot of football to play in a very short span. And you just hope, if you're a Steeler fan, you hope that they can come through this stretch, not just with their record intact, but with players not getting hurt. All of this talk is about player safety as far as the virus, and we understand that. I think we all understand that. But don't forget the other part of this is player safety, of not overtaxing players in these games. And the Steelers are going to have to play a lot of football here in the next 2 weeks.
And as a team now, you got to plan for maybe not practicing as much. And again, all of this because another team didn't want to follow the rules. And this, I'm not trying to hear it from the people who are like, oh, well, the Steelers had people test positive too. It's not the same. The Ravens had a coach that violated the rules blatantly and was in the facility doing it for quite some time. The team had, you could see that he wasn't wearing a mask. Those issues were brought on by the Ravens, and now once again the Steelers had their bye robbed of them from the from the Titans and their blatant violations of the COVID-19 protocols. Now you got the Ravens doing the same thing, and now the Steelers might be in the short end of the stick. And I guarantee you, over these next 3 games, anybody that gets hurt, and though these injuries could have been something that would have happened even if this thing didn't happen, get moved. But anybody that gets hurt, everybody's going to point to maybe it was because the NFL had to move the Steelers to playing 3 games over 12 days.
Yeah, and again, the muscle strains are always a concern just when you're playing that much, many games in a row, and of course the other injuries as well. But I just think the muscle strains are a concern, and it's kind of ironic that was mentioned in there as one of the reasons that the Ravens. Now on that end of it, it was just they have not practiced at all, right? I mean, I don't think they've even.
That was their excuse.
I don't know if they practiced Monday. Again, we're filming this on Monday night, but I don't know if the Ravens actually got on the field on Monday or not. But the concern about on the other end of the muscle strains is when you've gone so long without practicing or putting on pads that you can get muscle strains that way too. I can't believe that this has to set the Java record for the use of the phrase muscle strains, by the way.
I don't think it's ever been used before, and now we've got a record. This is like Mike Tomlin's obviously counting in a press conference. Tom, I think the last thing we can finish off here is just thoughts on how the Steelers weather this storm. Mike Tomlin's been saying we don't care, we're staying focused, 1 game at a time. But this has to be tough when you're in the best win streak to start a season in the franchise's history. You're on a pace. You're putting yourself in a really great position to have a good shot at a Super Bowl run here, and it seems like every obstacle is just being put in your way, and not through happenstance, not through bad luck. There wasn't a blizzard that hit and took everybody out. I mean, the pandemic, it would be that, but again, this is other teams breaking the rules, and now that can impact your focus. We've seen Steelers players go on social media, Eric Ebron, Juju Smith-Schuster, and other players just kind of say like, this is ridiculous. And even Cam Hayward, who's the whole time this past week when the first 2 postponements happened, he was like, you know what, I'm excited to play Sunday. You know what, I'm excited to play Tuesday. And now he's starting to be like, all right, we're taking notes here. Like we see what's going on.
Yeah, and this is where you're having a veteran coaching staff helps, and I know Haywood's not happy, but when we talk about these 3 games in 12 days, that's not how the Steelers are going to approach it. They're going to cut their steaks in small pieces right now. All they can focus on is, let's hope there's a game Wednesday, first of all, but just being 1-0 against the Ravens and getting that taken care of, and then kind of catching your breath to play a Washington team that's not very good, and then from there worry about Buffalo. But again, everyone's frustrated. This has just been and it just goes into what the coach has been saying all along. The only thing perfect about this year has been their record, and all they can do is just try to go out there and play well on Wednesday and hope to come out of the game injury free, or as injury free as possible, and then move on to Washington, because you can't really get caught looking at the big picture, especially at this time of year.